The Cleveland Browns Linebacker Room, young, athletic, talented. We'll tell you why we think this could be a surprising unit for the Cleveland Browns in 2022.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound, LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Great to see everybody. Have an episode up here, covering the David Njoku extension. We talk a little bit of fun here as far as, Memorial Day activities, cookout, barbecue. We settle that debate for you. Getting ready to kick off another week here. We appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen day in, day out, whatever podcast platform you use. Make sure you're following or subscribe. YouTube. Obviously, this is now going to be week 3 on YouTube. Garrett Bush and myself here joining this new venture, this new tag team, so to speak. So make sure you're checking everything out over there. Get those subscribers number up for us. We do appreciate that. This time of year is fun because we can put out things, to the loyal listeners, and we get a lot of topics back, and from that, we can kind of almost custom create a show to what some of you guys want, to hear about and learn about from us and our perspective. We're going to get to a couple things here today. As Garrett mentioned, we're going to talk about this linebacker room. This linebacker room, there's, I wouldn't say a couple of questions. There may be asterisk marks as from where this room could be good to where this room could possibly be great. We're going to talk a little bit about the situation for Baker Mayfield. I think some folks think maybe Jimmy Haslam's got a hand going on here. We'll see about that. And then, of course, always some listener questions here to close out the episode on, which is now, it's already Tuesday, which is a great thing. I mean, if you get to start your week on a Tuesday, man, there ain't nothing better than starting your week here on a Tuesday.
That'd be awesome to get it on. Can we get 4 days every day, every week?
I'm with, look, man, if the way it's supposed to work is if you tell me most people got to work 10 hours through 4 days or you got to work 8 hours through 5, you tell me everybody ain't gonna buckle down, put in 2 more hours every day and say, you want to know what, I'll take that 72 hours for myself. That's the way it should be. But Garrett, the linebacker position, obviously led by veteran Anthony Walker here, the signal caller of this D, then the rising star in Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Sione Takitaki, a solid Mike linebacker. You get what you get from him. I think you can count on him in his role. A couple of wild cards here. Jacob Phillips going into year 3 when Jacob Phillips has been healthy and has played. You've seen some special moments. I remember when his first games against Dallas Cowboys in 2020, had a 3-play series, had a tackle, had 2 pass breakups, was big in the 2 Pittsburgh Steelers games to close out 2020, had a sack towards the end of this year when he came back from the torn bicep. Tony Fields, who I know is a guy, Garrett, that you're kind of fond of and want to see where his standing is within this linebacker room. You look at him as a possible 5th linebacker. I mean, Phillips and of course, they are Tony Fields are their 4th and 5th linebackers to this point, which is just insane to think about. I mean, these guys, healthy wise, most likely would be starting for several other NFL teams. It's a special room. It's a lot of potential. And the thing is, the way it's built, and I know we all know Joe Woods loves to play a lot of defensive backs. Tony Fields was a defensive back in college before he ended up at West Virginia. You talk about Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, a lot of the things he did at Notre Dame were as a guy who played safety and played linebacker. Versatile player, chess piece types of player. But this is the makings of what could be a strong positional unit. And it really hasn't been one for the Cleveland Browns, certainly in the time I've been covering this team since 2017.
Yeah, the unit is I would say they have a bunch of hybrids, right? They got a lot of guys that can do a lot of different things, and that is key if you can get them to be able to match up with some of these individuals in these packages. I think JOK, Tony Fields as well. They kind of played that little safety hybrid role, which means that. And theoretically, in your pass coverage, you should have a lot of guys that can cover, lock on the guys, move around, and basically cover some of the underneath stuff and underneath routes that these teams want to run. I always remember the games, playing guys like Travis Kelce, right? And Kelsey, to his credit, is really savvy. He's not really fast or anything. He just finds a lot of space. He gets open a lot. And one of the things that I would always watch is like, man, when we have Goodson or sometimes Walker, they can't cover that guy. They can't cover him in that space. And I think the Browns have made a conscious effort to get linebackers in there like a JOK, and to a lesser extent Tony Fields. We'll see what he has, but specifically JOK in order to be able to cover some of those underneath things. And the thing that annoys me so much is nothing annoys me more than it's third and 5, and you let them throw underneath for a 3-yard little stop route or a drag 3-yard. I call them aspirin tablets, just little dumps, and he catches it and runs for 6 yards, and he gets up like he was doing something, pointing first down. You're like, come on, bro, you got a drag route for 4 yards for Patrick Mahomes. Now the Browns, they look like they want to stop some of that underneath stuff. They got guys that can cover and run, and running is probably the biggest prerequisite nowadays for linebackers. You very rarely see you got Darius Leonard, guys like that in Indianapolis, dude, that are you got not Devin White. I think it's David White and Devin White and over there with the Buccaneers. Those guys, Levante David, they stay on the field all the time, but it's very rare to see a linebacker play 3 downs, especially when you talk about in nickel as well. But the Browns have a couple guys in JOK if they can get him to the right position to do it. And Sione Takitaki. He's just solid, man. He can play the run. Has shown some coverage. He had an interception a couple of years, took it back to the house against the Eagles. And I also think that he's one of the best special team players you got as well. So he's a guy that they can move in and out and haven't missed anything. And then Anthony Walker, it's just been basically the leader, the captain of the defense, right? He came in, he's been really leading that unit or whatever the case may be. And I think they're just solid. Would I say that they're superstars? No, but I think JOK will take the next step and they will become a really solid unit. And the unit that can do some versatile things.
And a couple things here. With Anthony Walker, when he first came over here, obviously everybody saw, Darius Leonard basically wax so poetic about, his friend, his teammate, and basically helped him become the player he was. It's one thing to be able to play a position. It's one thing to be a great athlete, but it's one thing to be able to be such a bare bones, break it down. I saw film. Guess what? They came out in this formation. They are doing this or they are doing this. I have watched this film. I had studied extensively. I know what is coming, and be able to, communicate, spill verbiage to your teammates at the linebacker position, to everybody on the defense, to get everybody on the same page, to basically know what is coming. He's obviously done that here with the Cleveland Browns. You talk about Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and there's very few players we've seen in Myles Garrett's time here with the Browns that can match that type of energy, can match that type of speed, gets the crowd rocking out of their seats when a play is made. We've seen a little bit of that last year with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. We think it's probably just the tip of the iceberg with a player of his skill set. Sione Takitaki, I love that you brought up the interception. It's never ideal that they want Sione Takitaki in coverage, but he obviously got that pick 6 off of Carson Wentz. There was also the one in Pittsburgh in the big playoff win where he kind of skied, did a little Jordan pose to get that interception, which is impressive. But he's strong at the point of attack. The run flows his way. He will take on a linebacker. He will push the pile back. He will basically give himself up for somebody else to create the play. He does a great job at the Mike linebacker in that position. Now you get to the depth here. Jacob Phillips, we should be talking about a player, and this is where it gets kind of weird. Anthony Walker technically probably should not have been brought back this year. But the Browns do not have enough of a history yet with Jacob Phillips. I think they love the player. They like the player. But there has been more missed time off the field than there's been on the field to this point. It's difficult. Until you see a guy on the field all the time, you have to basically protect yourself in that. Tony Fields, it was a tough spot, was injured when the Browns brought him in, missed a ton of time as a rookie. The Browns really haven't gotten a true idea of him, and he was another player by the time he got to take some reps last year. The season was lost. So I think you see where the growth is. As we know Sione Takitaki on the last year of his deal. Most likely there's a scenario where somebody might value Sione a little bit more than the Browns do for 2023. So he would maybe possibly leave, go get some more money somewhere else. It leaves a position for Jacob Phillips. Tony Fields to step up in the pecking order, maybe become a starter in the base defense. But love these guys, love the way they play, and the fact that there is some secondary background to these players, to what Joe Woods wants to do, and he loves the versatility. You want to be able to cover, and I know exactly what you were bringing up here as far as, the short routes that end up turning into first downs. I remember it was a few years ago, I think it was 2018, Browns were playing the Panthers. Browns won that game. There was Joe Schobert, who was always a good player, solid player for the Browns. Christian McCaffrey just could not be dealt with that day. He was running those choice routes, running 4 yards up the field, staring Joe Schobert right in the eyes, either went left, went right. And it's really difficult to run with a guy. Most linebackers don't run 4.4s. So, that was a tough player. But now you got players who are capable of doing those type of things. And certainly with JOK, that type of player, the blitzing ability of Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, just the overall, I am going to hit you. I mean, if his mom's coming through the hole, Mom, I love you, I'm sorry, but we're going to pop pads. That's just the way it goes. That's the way I play, and I'm never, ever going to concede a play, concede it down. I am always going to give the hardest thing I can. So for this unit, if you can get solid contributions from Fields and Phillips, you're talking about a unit that could be pretty special. And now you combine that with the secondary, you combine that with the pass rushers. We're still waiting on the defensive tackles, obviously, for what that room can be. Makes for the potential. And I mean, I'm not going to stop saying it. I'm going to keep saying it, and I'm not going to stop saying it. The potential is there for the Browns to not only be a top 5 defense, they could contend for the top defense in the NFL in 2022. We got a lot more to get here today. I think some of you are brewing up maybe a conspiracy theory here as to why maybe Baker Mayfield is still part of the Cleveland Browns, but we're going to get to that. Squash a couple myths there. Your host, Jeff Lloyd, Garrett Bush, on your latest Locked On Browns. This episode is brought to you by the fine folks over at Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questions? Is your Odyssey an LX? Is it an EX V6? Does it have a V6 turbo? And wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry. You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home, and you certainly got one on your cell phone. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. It's a family-owned business. It's been serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. The prices are reliably low, and they're for every customer. Whether you're a chain store or just me or Garrett, you're paying the same price for the car parts. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck. Write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know the folks over here at Locked On sent you their way. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com.
Browns Locked On podcast. G-Bush here. Jeff Lloyd here. Make sure you come on and definitely hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Thanks for making us your first stop, your first daily spot on all things Cleveland Browns. At GBush91, at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. We'll be here every single day, giving you the top-notch Browns news. Coming up here to training camp. This is a place you want to be. This is a place where you get your news, and we're going to be on it consistently. So make sure you go ahead and follow us on Twitter. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. And also make sure you go ahead and download us wherever you can find your podcast or you download your podcast. Jeff, Baker Mayfield, it's the guy that can't end. It's the storyline that keeps making new storylines. It's like, rabbits, they're multiplying. It just seems like we can't get, past the Baker Mayfield situation. And we got a couple of things, it seems like it's either Deshaun Watson or Baker Mayfield. This week is Baker Mayfield. A lot of people seem to be thinking that Jimmy Haslam has some sort of backdoor, dark, cloak whisperings about why he's still here. And it seems like a conspiracy theory is brewing as to why Baker Mayfield is still on this roster.
Look, I mean, for all intents and purposes, this needed to be over, and it needed to be over a little while ago. I mean, it needed to be over maybe a day or two after the Deshaun Watson move, if not as that was going down. Yeah. But there's a lot of factors here with the money that is owed to Baker Mayfield this season. And where are these teams at? Look, you're not going to tell me the Seattle Seahawks are looking at Drew Lock and saying, "We good. We're groovy. We're fine over here with Drew Lock." You're not telling me down in Carolina they're looking at Sam Darnold. They're looking at Matt Corral, who they just drafted, and apparently now maybe there were some off-field concerns about Matt Corral. And look, I'm not going to say it's off-field concerns. You know, the guy liked to party a little bit. Well, we all went to college, so guess what? I still like to party a little bit. So I mean, if that's an off-field concern, I don't know how big of a one it is. But you can't tell me you're going to look at a guy that you drafted, you know, somewhere late third round and just saying, yep, keys to the franchise, and especially for Matt Rule, who's in a difficult station with Carolina. The program down there has not improved, and, you know, as nearly to what they thought Matt was going to be able to do. Maybe he's a guy that's better fit for the NCAA as opposed to the NFL. So you're not going to tell me bringing Baker Mayfield in is not a better situation for Seattle or for Carolina. And when folks said draft weekend, the best quarterback available this weekend is not in the draft. He plays for the Cleveland Browns, has a contract with the Cleveland Browns, is Baker Mayfield. It is the contract. It is almost $19 million. The Browns do not want to pay $19 million. The Browns, I don't think in any way, shape, or form are going to cut Baker Mayfield. It's just not the way it's going to be. And you and I have talked about this before. Like, it's, you know, when your mom put vegetables on the plate and you knew you didn't like them, but you knew, guess what? There's no way I'm getting away from this table without putting these down my throat. So guess what? You know, some stewed carrots. If I dip them in ketchup, maybe they'll taste like ketchup and they won't taste like stewed carrots. These mushrooms look nasty. What can I put on them to get them down? That, you know, the Browns are looking for something that is more palatable. I do think, and I do believe that if a team came with a higher draft pick, I think the Browns might be comfortable with paying more of Baker Mayfield's money. But the problem is they're not going to let the team have it both ways. They are not going to let a team come in and say, we will give you a day 3 pick that could be anywhere from the 7th to the 5th, and you pay $15 million. The Browns, look, if you want us to pay, that's fine. But we would like to take a pick that we value. For the Browns, that's probably, I would say, a top 115 pick. You saw that's where they kind of made their money this year. Cade York, Perion Winfrey went right in that range. These are picks the Browns value. They think they draft well enough. They set up their board well enough that they can get good value in that range. And there's also something else. OTAs are going on right now. And everybody, oh, well, Baker Mayfield's not here. Even if Baker Mayfield was here, there's no belief that Baker Mayfield is allowed to do anything right now. He is still in a rehab process. So even if he were to be traded, he's just going to be there. And if you were Seattle, you're basically already telling Drew Lock, guess what? Whatever you do in OTAs where I have you at quarterback 1, it means nothing because this injured guy who's not allowed to take any snaps here right now already has your job. So how do you motivate that kid to work his butt off when you basically have somebody standing there with a baseball hat injured who is basically, in fact, the number 1 starter? The same thing goes on in Carolina. You have Sam Darnold, and that's a weird situation, obviously, with Baker and Sam Darnold. Same draft, 2 picks apart. Still could happen. I'm not going to say it's not going to happen. Or how do you look at Matt Corral and say, go out there, bust your butt. We want to see everything you've got. I know it's a brief time here in OTAs. Oh, but it doesn't matter because Baker Mayfield is going to be the starting quarterback anyway. You want these kids until he's there, these kids have an opportunity to be the quarterback for that team. It's a sticky situation. Nobody's hiding Baker in the corner and admonishing him. The whole reason when Baker spoke up with the Deshaun Watson dalliance, everybody expected it. Look, Baker has never been one to not put his heart on his sleeve. He has never been one to not say how he feels. And when Baker Mayfield was riding high, we all love that. When things weren't going so good, obviously maybe people weren't such a fan. Give me real. And I tell you this all the time, G. I will take a real person. I don't need fake. Even if you're real and you're a pain in my ass, I can deal with that because you know what? I know exactly what you are. So there's times where I can avoid having to deal with it, sidestep it, or, times where, hey, what do you mean? Why are you surprised? He's always been like that. That is the way he acts. That's the type of person he is. Like it, love it, leave it. That's your choice. But always be the same person that you are. And that's the way Baker Mayfield is. But this will end sometime soon. In my honest belief, this will end sometime soon when we start to hear Baker Mayfield is throwing. Baker Mayfield is dropping back. Baker Mayfield is to the point where he is good to go. Does it maybe go into July? Certainly possible. It is certainly possible, Garrett.
I think there's a myth out there that Baker Mayfield was let go because of his comments about Deshaun Watson or comments after what the playbook and the comments. And I keep trying to tell people that comments don't get you released, man. Comments don't get you, quarterbacks make comments all the time, right? Aaron Rodgers says a bunch of things and they keep signing him to bigger deals. They just keep bringing him a bag of money. So it
was to the point where Devontae Adams, who's on a Hall of Fame career, said, "Get me out of here, and I'll go play with Derek Carr."
Yeah. Just let me get up out of here, man. He was supposed to give me some money too. He just forgot that we was in this thing together. You know what? Give me up out of here, man. So it's like Baker Mayfield is not being punished for what he said. Baker Mayfield is not he's not on timeout. What Baker Mayfield found out was the Cleveland Browns just didn't think he was a good enough quarterback to get them to where they wanted to go. The goals was Super Bowl. They made an evaluation over the 4-year process and said, hey, we can get better here. Let me get Deshaun Watson. And a lot of people think that there's this conspiracy theory with Jimmy Haslam. No one pays anybody to just go away, right? Even when they paid Odell Beckham Jr. to go away, it was like $7 million, right? It wasn't like 18 or 19. It wasn't that. And I think the Browns will eventually get rid of Baker Mayfield and eventually get him to another team. But right now, it really is no rush, to be truthful. You're not going to get anything better. It's not like they're going to give you a bonus for getting it done before camp. Like you said, a lot of people, you're one of the first people that I've heard mention this. We don't even know where he's at in the rehab process like that. Is he throwing?
Everything we were told was he should be ready by training camp. Well, guess what, folks? It's the end of May. Training camp convenes in about 60 days from now.
And it's not like he has a doctor coming out with this with reports every 2 weeks. So if he comes, he's going to be with the trainer. He's going to be hanging out. He's going to be rehabbing his shoulder. He's not even going to be on the field. And the Browns may just say, look, man, we pay you your money. You ain't got to show up. We'll just, we'll get you together. Stay out there, rehab, do your thing. We'll get you your money. I think it'll get taken care of. I just think fans need to understand that there's no wide-ranging conspiracy thing. Jimmy Haslam is not punishing Baker Mayfield because of what he said. Jimmy Haslam is just posted up being like, let me figure out what's going on with Deshaun Watson. Can I get to how many games he going to get? I think we have bigger fish to fry at this point.
I am 100% of the belief that Baker Mayfield has taken his last steps in the building of Berea. Even if this were to drag out to the point where Browns training camp opens, you don't bring him in. Look, Facts. Baker, look, here's the deal. We are paying you. We have zero intention of fining you. You essentially don't want to be here. I mean, it would be like, do you want to live in the house with your ex-wife and her new family? No, you do not want to do that.
I kind of did that one. I'll tell you that story.
Well, we'll save that for a third segment another week. Coming right up here, Mr. G-Bush got. Oh, that's one that's a scam. I don't know if we were ready to pick, but why not? We got more coming here, obviously. We're going to dip into the mailbag a little bit. Got a couple questions from all you guys. Do appreciate that. But again, no, it's the Browns want what they think is fair. And obviously, I think to this point, they don't feel like they have gotten anything that is fair. We'll be back with some stuff from the mailbag here. As always, we appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen, whether it is the traditional audio podcast format, whatever platform you use, 5-star ratings, written reviews. Again, we appreciate everybody who takes the time out here. Again, now new journey here as Garrett's come on as full-time co-host. YouTube. We'd love to get those subscriber numbers up. I understand some of you are starting to find your way over there, and I do appreciate it. I'm not going to fault you if you're an audio person, but we live in this era now in 2022 where, what's big? TikTok's big. Videos are big, obviously, which makes YouTube big. And it's just more of a way to people, obviously, to digest content. Some people prefer it this way. Some people not necessarily. That's okay. Either way. I mean, and here's the other thing, guys. If you do listen to the audio version while you're driving, there's no difference if you listen to the YouTube version while you're driving. You should be looking down anyway, all right? Just make sure you're not doing all that. But again, appreciate everybody for all the support here at Locked On Browns.
Locked On Browns, back at it again, Locked On Browns podcast, your daily podcast, one-stop shop. G-Bush, Jeff Lloyd. We're going to get to you guys as well. By the way, I do want to say this. The YouTube numbers are looking up. Like, I want to thank you guys for making sure you do that. We got a couple of our videos up there that have cracked 2,000 views. A few of them that are right on the teeter-totter of 1,000.
People were watching this weekend, man. It was Memorial Day weekend, but I saw those numbers took some spikes, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, people's taking it up a little bit. We try to every video we watch, we want to at least have it over 1,000. We want to have that dropped and get those views up. So, like Jeff said, make sure you hit that like, subscribe button, and that notification bell, so you are notified every single time Locked On Browns podcast drops a new video. And we try to stay consistent, get it out early, so you guys have an opportunity throughout your day leisurely to watch our videos.
All right, we got some listener questions here, and obviously some of these guys we turned into segments, and this is why I put this out there, and this is why I appreciate the support and the feedback. Again, I'll say this to them blue in his face: this show is nothing without you. You all come here to listen. But it'd be like me, if I owned a restaurant, and Garrett came in every day and said, you guys don't sell cheeseburgers, but he's here every day. Well, you want to know what? If my man's asking for cheeseburgers, I think we should put cheeseburgers on the damn menu. Yeah. You take care of what's loyal to you. First one here from our Will_90. What does the future look like for Greedy Williams? Positive and negative.
Well, I think the positive part about it is I think Greedy Williams, he bounced back. When you have an injury like he has, I actually have a similar injury. I have 3 herniated discs right now that aren't able to be operated on. So if you see me moving around and twitching a little bit, it's just trying to get the feeling back in my arms. and guess what? I'm just doing podcasts. I ain't trying to guard defensive backs or receivers and jam receivers to line of scrimmage and tackle people. So I totally understand that there's such an accomplishment for him to come back and bounce back and play the way he did last year. That's the positive part. I think he's gonna, they move Greg Newsome inside. I think they have Greedy Williams slotted as one of their starting corners on the outside right now. He'll have a camp battle with AJ Green, I think, and Emerson will have a little something to say with that too. He'll get some playing time, but you can never have enough corners in terms of the depth. But I think what Greedy Williams is going to show is that he has good talent. I think he's going to play a lot next year. The downside is I think he's going to actually play so well, he's going to play himself out of a position because I think he's not going to get re-signed by the Cleveland Browns. He's another one of those guys that 4-year deal. He's a 2nd-round pick. I think they're going to actually have to, he'll get a big deal in free agency, and the Browns will have to move on and pick between Emerson and AJ Green. Which is that's why those picks matter, and that's why they did it. But I think Greedy Williams has a great year. I think he bolsters his defense. But I think he's a person that you look up. I don't know if he'll be back next year because of his number and inciting him to a long-term extension.
The pecking order in the cornerback room, look, we can kind of understand what's going on here. If we're playing 2 cornerbacks, it's Denzel Ward and it's Greg Newsome. We're going to get to the situation where we go to nickel, we go to dime. It seems like they're going to give Greg Newsome every opportunity to play on the inside. Now that creates basically a 3-man battle royal for who's going to get to play the other outside spot in these situations. They're all going to play, and that's one thing to not mistake here. It's not going to be AJ Green only sees reps if Greedy Williams is hurt, Martin Emerson, it's not going to be that way. They're all going to get the opportunity to play. They are certainly going to work on developing, Martin Emerson. They seem to like what AJ Green does. He brings decent length to the position. Greedy Williams, it was a tough 2020. You get hurt 2 days into camp. Your season is over from that point on. The Browns had to make decisions, based on injury, like very similar to the situation the Browns are in with Jacob Phillips. Keep in mind, they did bring in Jacob Phillips themselves. So they know with Greedy, and the thing with Greedy is at any time, one awkward hit, and we could maybe be down this awkward spiral again of Greedy Williams availability. So they have to be, hedge their bets. They have to be covered there, certainly. I do agree this is most likely Greedy Williams last year here. You have Greg Newsome on a 1st-round contract. You just paid Denzel Ward a ton of money. Martin Emerson, 3rd-round pick. He's going to be here for 4 years. He ain't making much money. AJ Green is an undrafted free agent. That would be something that would have to be rectified this offseason, but most likely not going to cost a ton of money if you're going to choose between one or the other. And I'm not saying they're going to go either way here. Greedy's condition and the fact that it's not going to go away. This wasn't a one-time injury. This is literally a condition with the way Greedy Williams' body is constructed. It stinks for him. You hate it for him. But for Greedy, go out there, have a really, really great year. And maybe there'll be a lesser team that's got a weaker cornerback room and says, hey, we could add a few more zeros, then the Cleveland Browns can essentially go, for a contract for you. So for Greedy Williams, we want to see health. We want to see the opportunity for him to play a ton this yeyear. And if Greedy goes and gets his money and it's somewhere else, hey, go be greedy. Go get your money. Got to look about you. You got to worry about you. We're going to continue here, a couple more. And we're some still talking about this, Garrett. It's will another wide receiver be added, veteran-wise? And that's not necessarily the juxtapose of the position. I don't think that's going to be something that's going to be done right now. That would be something that's going to be done in August if the kids aren't getting it done. So the question is there essentially a wide receiver 2 established? Would there be a wide receiver 3 established? How does that work in your opinion?
Might want to turn my mic on. Yeah, so
it's not like you've never done this before.
Yeah, it's 4 or 5 times or so. I think it's all you hit the nail on the head. It's all it hinges on 2 or 3 players. Anthony Schwartz, what can you get from him? 3rd round pick. David Bell, 3rd round pick. What can you get from him? I think they're a little more confident in Donovan Peoples-Jones, and I am too. Like, I think Donovan has shown some flashes where he hasn't had drops. He seems like he's done some good things in the running routes. He looks like he's a solid guy. I think they're waiting to see on Anthony Schwartz and David Bell to see which one of those guys steps up and takes that position. Is Anthony Schwartz a viable slot receiver? Can he do anything besides run straight fast? That's the point. David Bell, they like him, but I always say this like this: can you really count on rookies? Rookies have this happen all the time. Get into camp, don't know the intensity of it, and especially when you're dealing with a receiver or a defensive back, it's camp hamstring all of a sudden. You pull a hamstring because you don't know the speed of the game. Now you're on the side on the bikes half the season. We asked the beat reporters, yeah, he's on the side today. He's working over there. We'll get him back. He's on the bike. Blah, blah, blah. Then by the time then he gets in the offense. Well, he doesn't really know all the routes. We can only run him at a certain position. We're trying to work his reps back up because we don't want to aggravate the hamstring. We ain't got no time for that. And at that case, if that happens, be on the phone. Will Fuller, what's going on? Well, you good? Come on through. That's what we're looking to do at that point in time, and I think that's just what it'll be. If David Bell and Schwartz look like he want to play this year, I think there's less of a burden or less of a thing to a knee-jerk reaction to go get another veteran receiver.
I agree totally, and I think look, in this team, this front office, this coaching staff, they are not going to give up on investments. They have a lot invested in the Donovan Peoples-Jones. They are very excited about the growth path that he is on. Anthony Schwartz, and it was weird because Anthony was very similar to what you were describing. Missed a lot of the summer, played a little bit in the final preseason game, had almost 100 total yards week 1. Then they started putting him out there. He was good when he was featured. He didn't understand the nuances of basically, if he was a decoy and that thing. And then there were issues, where Anthony was maybe behind the 8 ball a tad bit. Certainly, that's totally not his fault because players like Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry were supposed to be playing. They weren't. Led to some issues. Certainly where, you were asking more of Anthony than maybe he was possibly ready for. David Bell, I think, comes in with intelligence. I think he's a smart player. I think it's going to work for him quickly. I don't necessarily see the need because the last thing the Browns want to do is in week 1 of August bring in a veteran and then 3 weeks later say, you know what, thanks for coming out, bro, but kids did what they needed to do, so you're back on the market. Good luck to you, whatever it may be. If they have to bring somebody in, they will find somebody in August. There are teams like the New York Giants that are deep at the wide receiver position, not going to be able to keep everybody. New York Jets as well, deep at the wide receiver position, not going to be able to keep everybody. Something to watch and monitor, but it's going to depend on how the kids learn. This has been a great episode. Always a blast sitting down here with G. We've gotten to the talk of the linebacker room. The way it's constructed should be a fun position to watch this summer and certainly into the regular season here. There are no conspiracy theories with Baker Mayfield. His injury isn't helping here. The fact that the people want the Browns to roll over and take it on a deal is not going to happen. And of course, some listener questions. Make sure you're checking out the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show with Garrett Bush, the barbershop. Garrett working all weekend, and now it's Tuesday. He'll be working all week long. Aditi, again, going to be in there. Y'all got to just get Miss Aditi a chair at this point. Everybody who follows Locked On Browns, whether it's podcast form, whether it's YouTube, make sure you're subscribed. 5-star ratings, written reviews. Hit that like button on YouTube. We appreciate that. Make sure you're following Garrett at G-Bush91, myself at Jeff Lloyd, at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. Appreciate everybody for the support here. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on the LOB. Let's go Browns.